Good evening. I'll call this City Council special meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Vining.
Here.
Germaine.
Here.
Lamore.
Present.
Felder.
Here.
Whitman.
Here.
Stillgrave. Here. Mayor Clark.
So we have a few items on the agenda. I know there's some that are here that might be here for the work session. Some may be here for the City Council meeting. What we have this evening also is a special meeting because we have, as periodically quarterly, we have go into closed executive session to talk about attorney update and also a labor relations item. It's brief, but we have to review that in closed session. And when we come back, then we'll move on to the work session. The work session has a couple items, which is a couple presentations. I think that's what many are here for this evening. And then we'll get in after that. We go to our regular city council meeting. So people wonder, when's this topic coming up? I just wanted to give you an idea. So, but as we do at all of our meetings, there's opportunity for public comment. So the first meeting is a special meeting that we called to order here, and it's to go in a closed executive session to discuss those two items. And then when we come back, there'll be public comment available for the work session on the two presentations, the Safe Haven Baby Box, and of course proposals regarding 212 East Front Street. So at this time, is there any comments for those present here this evening before we go into our closed executive session? Any comments that, because there'll be opportunities at each of our meetings after this as well, related to some of the topics you may want to talk about. Seeing none. Councilman Lamore?
Yeah, Your Honor, I propose that we go into, make a motion that we go into closed executive session to discuss labor negotiations and the following matters of pending litigation involving the following parties: Carr, OFTH 172, and Webb.
So motion by Councilman Lamore, supported by Councilwoman Germain, to go into closed executive session for the purposes stated. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Vining.
Yes.
Germaine.
Yes.
Lamore.
Yes.
Felder.
Yes.
Whitman.
Yes.
Stillgrave.
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes. So we'll be back shortly.
This agenda, it wasn't supposed to be here, but I don't know why they put it on here. On the, no, it was the agenda on the 212. They put it under.
Need a motion to go back into open session.
Open session?
Motion by Councilman Moore, supported by Councilwoman Germaine to go back into open session for the special meeting. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Vining? Yes. Jermaine? Yes. Lemore?
Yes.
Felder? Whitman? Yes. Steelgrave?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. So we had, well, it was discussion closed. Seeing if there's any action from council for,
Mr. Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion. Motion is to authorize the Human Resources Director to enter into the presented memorandum of understanding and early retirement incentive with the POAM.
Support.
there's a motion by Councilman Moore, supported by Councilwoman Steelgrave regarding POM, MOU, and our retirement. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Vining?
Yes.
Jermaine?
Yes.
Lemore?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Whitman? Yes. Steelgrave?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. I don't think there's any additional items, Mr. Robinson, correct, on the special meeting?
Items.
Okay. Motion to adjourn, please.
Motion to adjourn the special meeting.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Moore, supported by Councilman Felder to adjourn. Clerk, roll, please.
Councilperson Vining?
Yes.
Jermaine? Yes.
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Whitman?
Yes.
Steelgrave?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. So, let's see, 6:25. Make sure we're all set. Call the city council work session meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Vining?
Here.
Jermaine? Here. Lemore? Felder? Here. Whitman?
Here.
Steelgrave? Here. Mayor Clark?
Present. So we have our work session. The first is public comment. I'm looking to Mr. Robinson, if you want to just, I guess we should take, clerk, take the comments first. So as I stated earlier, for those that may not have been here, we had a closed session. We came back from that. We have the work session, which is about discussion, receiving information. There's two presentations on the agenda. We put public comment here, but as the evening goes, we'll see what might present as well. But if there's any public comment wish to be made up front by anybody present regarding items related to the work session. Very well. And as I said, we'll continue there. Mr. Robinson, the work session agenda?
Yes, Your Honor, and Honorable Counsel. The first presentation in item 4229 would be the presentation for the Safe Haven Baby Box. We have Kara Dowler, who's the CEO of Celia's House, located at 207 South Macomb Street and 212 East 2nd Street. She wants to provide information on the Safe Haven Baby Box. She'll present information on the box program and the potential location for baby box addition discussion in Michigan law concerning the safety delivery statute.
Thank you. Kara, welcome.
Yep, just 1 second. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to come today before the council to represent Safe Haven Baby Box. As mentioned, my name is Kara Dowler. I am the current CEO of Selah Center of Hope here in Monroe, Michigan. We house homeless pregnant women within our community. We partner with the local homeless shelters in providing housing, mentorship, parenting classes, life skills, while first addressing mental health and providing trauma-informed care to the homeless expectant mothers within our community. While training for human trafficking within our area, I came across the organization Safe Haven Baby Box. I was able to email the information to Mayor Clark, who then connected me to Mr. Tolstead and Mr. Smiley. And we have been in conversations with community members, church leaders, Joe Bellino, Mr. Felder, about the possibility of having a Safe Haven Baby Box program here in Monroe. So as an active community member, I'm here today to share about this program and how I believe it can make a positive impact for Monroe. Safe Haven Baby Box takes the face-to-face interaction out of a safe surrender and protects the mother's identity. Listing there on the other side is some links to where just recently we have had illegal abandonment of infants. Safe Haven Baby Box was started by a former firefighter who was abandoned at birth. From that experience, she started Safe Haven Baby Box. Safe Haven's mission is to prevent illegal abandonment of newborns by raising awareness, offering 24-hour hotline support for mothers in crisis, and offering, as a last resort, the Baby Box. Safe Haven Baby Box impact statement shows their commitment to building local community support systems that comes along the side of vulnerable women and newborns with counseling, options, and, as I stated, a last resort of the Baby Box. Their 24-hour hotline to date has received over 8,000 calls. They have referred hundreds to pregnancy centers and have had 132 safe surrenders through their hotline alone. In my line of work, I see a great need in our community to bring this 24-hour hotline to our local mothers in need and a way to anonymously surrender their baby if needed. Again, Safe Haven Baby Box would be a last resort option for mothers. Safe Haven's mission is to end infant abandonment. This would bring our community a 24-hour hotline for women to receive access to referrals and support systems. Nationwide, they have had 121 surrenders, which has resulted just from the hotline. This Safe Haven Baby Box is an opportunity for mothers in crisis to give her baby a better future and a loving family while legally protecting her identity. I believe having a tangible way for our community to support the decreasing risk of infanticide and illegal abandonment is of great importance. In my line of work, we have housed so far 4 human trafficking victims. We have learned that if they were not able to escape, they feared their newborn would be taken by the traffickers to be used, or they would not be able to support their newborn in the environment they were living. Safe Haven 24-hour hotline or Baby Box could be a way for our community to get life-saving information for both the mother and the baby, while helping the decrease of infanticide and illegal abandonment. If we can get that video to work, that is a quick little video to show you guys how the Baby Box actually operates for the mom. Okay, I can walk through it. I've memorized it, so. Oh, the next slide I have pictures, so I can also just show a little bit of that too. Okay,
If the video doesn't play, it can be forwarded along as we work out some of the
Right.
details, send it out
Right.
to council. They can view it at a later time as well.
right.
All right.
Okay. So here are some pictures. We were able to take a tour in Indiana of a operating baby box. The baby boxes, as you can see, can be placed within a window at a fire station, hospital, or police station. We are recommending that it be done within the fire station. So it can be done through a window or through the side of a building. It does have a separate alarm system so that all firefighters would be alerted first when the door opens from the outside. It's called a silent alarm, so the mother is not alerted, she's not scared or anything like that. Inside there, it's kind of hard to see in the second picture, there's an orange package, and that package contains safety information that the mom can take with her for resources to seek medical care. And then also it'd be wonderful if we could add our local information in there and human trafficking information. Then there's a sensor inside. Once the baby is placed, the sensor's broken, so there's another alarm that goes off. So if the mom just opens that and takes the package and leaves, that's fine. But if she places the baby in there, there's another alarm that goes off. And everyone is alerted. So there's the station that the baby box is actually in that's alerted first. If no one answers that call, it goes to the next station and the next station and the next station until somebody answers the call. The longest time has been like a minute and a half to response time to getting the baby. What I loved about having a tour of the fire station was that the firefighters see so much trauma that this was a ray of light that they were able to partake in saving a child. This was another video, but you guys can watch that later. As a success story of a baby who was placed in a home, in a loving home after being surrendered. So this one's everyone's favorite part is the expenses. Myself and my small volunteer team would love to be able to fundraise for all of the expenses involved. So nothing would be coming from city funding. We have commitments from churches, from individuals, and from companies here locally that would love to partake in this project, whether donating their time or their money in getting this into our city. As you can see, there's a legal process. And then once a year, they do come out and do an inspection fee to make sure all the pieces are working. And what the annual fee covers there. And then the installation fee of any construction that needs to go on. We do have 2 construction companies who would like to be involved in that and donate their time and their resources towards that. But that gives you a rough amount of how much the whole project would cost us and how much we would have to fundraise if this is approved. In the next steps, for my group to move forward, we are needing City Council's approval and a city ordinance to be written. If you see that this fits our community and could be beneficial overall. We are aware of the legal aspects that the state of Michigan allows up to 72 hours to surrender, and the baby box program allows up to 30 days. There are states that have cities who have this implemented, even with that large surrendering gap. One is New Mexico, and they have been able to successfully implement that in one of their cities. So that would be our next step to be able to move forward for fundraising and to submit our application to Safe Haven Baby Box for having them implement it, help us with the fundraising, and they also do all the training for the firefighters. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Kara. Thank you, Carrie. Any questions from council members? Kelly?
Does this company do the actual installation work of the box?
Hire a contractor, but they do facilitate the building of the box, and then they ship it here. And they actually have somebody from their company that comes with that shipment to make sure it's implemented correctly and all the alarms are set properly.
Okay. I thought we had a baby drop off, or did we just talk about that during the construction of the fire station?
I think Director Tolstead will address that because we've received, I think, information or a presentation about 3 years ago regarding this, and then what we did at the fire station. But we'll take questions for Kara at this point, but you
Sounds
may have
like
an
a
answer on some of that.
Wonderful program if we don't already have it. Sounds amazing. You kept mentioning mothers. So do the same rules apply to fathers that want to surrender a child?
Good question. I would assume that the biological parent, any biological parent can surrender.
Okay.
Yes.
Ready?
Councilor Germaini?
Thanks, Your Honor. So what happens to the babies after they're dropped?
So just like in the safe zones right now that are implemented, where they can go to a hospital, police station, or fire station, go in and surrender their baby, the same process would happen. The medical people would get involved to examine the baby for safety, and then CPS would be called in to facilitate from there. Safe Haven Baby Box does have an adoption program where families can apply for Safe Haven Baby Box surrender.
This is 24/7?
Their hotline is 24/7, yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions or comments from council? Oh, Andrew?
Yeah, I want to thank Ms. Dowler for bringing this forward. I think that this really is an important addition to the community. I think as Councilwoman Vining states, we thought that we might have already had one of these, so I think that at the very least, it's, there needs to be some services like this that remove obstacles to the parents to be able to surrender children that they are unable or unwilling to care for, so that the kids don't end up in more dire circumstances. At the end of the day, that really is the goal, to make sure that the outcome is best for the child and that they are taken care of at the end of the day, regardless of the capabilities of the circumstances that they are born into. So I thank her for bringing this forward and working with us. I would have a question. You talked a little bit about an ordinance that you would need from council. What exactly are we looking for as part of that?
Let Tolstead take that.
Mayor, City Council members, Chad Tolstead, Director of Public Safety. So I provided an example ordinance which was provided by Safe Haven Baby Box. Doing some of the research and looking into this matter, we have not spoken to the city attorney about it, but I have spoken to the prosecuting attorney regarding this model. So city ordinance can't supersede state law. State law is a 72-hour. It's actually called safe delivery. It's what it's called. City ordinance can't violate state law. So we'd have to work with our city attorney, the prosecutor office, to see if it's something that within the ordinance that I did not see that could make this viable for the city of Monroe. I think Ms. Dollar is very passionate about this, and it sounds like a very good project, but there is law already concerning these things that we'd have to concern ourselves with to make sure we as a city are covered in this capacity. And if I may speak to Councilwoman Vining's, I think what we were speaking of, I'm not sure familiar other than 3 years ago what we were talking about with the safe. So the safe delivery is 72 hours, which means a parent can drop off their infant child within 72 hours of birth without fear of prosecution. The fire station currently at 911 East 3rd Street, that's one of the reasons why the vestibule inside there was temperature controlled. So if a parent did want to come in safely, surrender that child, they do not have to provide their name. They don't have to provide any other information within that time frame. They can do so. That's why that's a heated environment. What isn't in there is like an alarm system like the Safe Haven Baby Box would provide to alert first responders that there is a child been placed inside there.
Other questions or comments? I just have a thought for, there's a lot of information that's been provided. I think there's some states that have that, and some, of course, we have laws here in Michigan regarding this. I think Director Tulsa just briefly touched on that. I think what it comes down to is obviously there's something in place currently. Do we want to do something different than what that would be? And that'll have to be a conversation with council after this work session if there's an interest. I think about the implementation, I'd like to learn more about that from some of the other locations where it's done time-wise. So, the upfront work and getting the supporters for the contributions is not the concern for me. It's managing it down the path, so to speak, and then how do we where do we implement that? Now, I think when we started with our new fire station, this was an item that was put into the discussion and is available currently within the city, and maybe there's additional messaging regarding that might be beneficial. But I'd like to get more information and consideration before we, I'll say, assign this to a department or personnel or how we manage that. I think as was said, the safe zones, which here in Michigan, hospital, police, fire, it can currently be placed at those locations and for care within the 72 hours as was stated. I did read the draft ordinance. There's some things in there I think that probably wouldn't apply here, but there's things in a general sense that could. One of those was the time frame of duration of how long. I think Kara covered that well, though. So just my thoughts. I think we're going to have additional conversation before we would, I guess, move forward. As I said, I think it was, I want to say 3 years, but it could have been less that we had this conversation with council. Kelly?
Your Honor, just for clarity, so the Safe Baby Box Company, they recommend 30 days that a parent should be able to surrender the child without fear of prosecution, but our state ordinance has 7. So why is this extended amount of time? Do you know?
You might have a better answer than I do, but most states allow up to 30 days.
Okay.
We are just one of those states that have the 72-hour rule. So it was brought before the state to extend that time to the 30 hours. It's called the Safe Haven Law in most states. It's just our law has not changed.
I see.
But I don't know if you have better clarification.
No, she spoke correctly. That is the law here in Michigan. It's just the 72 hours. I spoke with the Safe Haven Baby Box people as well, and they provided me the same information.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The one, and this and there's others, and I think we should probably receive those as well, because this one from the state of New Mexico and the Act of the Safe Haven Law, and it actually says, at least in what was provided, possession of a child 90 days of age or younger. So I think about that, and as I read this, if the child is voluntarily delivered to the entity by the parent of the child and the parent did not express an intent or return of the child or return for the child. And I think it really, I understand that part, and it says a medical service provider, first responder, medical staff at a hospital, and it goes on to some other information here. But I think about, time-wise, there is 2 parents. Whether the one parent is active and involved, I think about those items. I think about, and I'm not the attorney, that's why we have a city attorney, looking into things when you talk about now grandparent rights that we hear about trying to be established. I'm not saying it's not, I'm just saying these are the things that we should be considering as we implement an ordinance to provide service of what that service may be. It could be a different topic completely. So those are just some things right at the top of my head that I think about when I read through this example. Not saying it would be how it could be written here if agreed to by council, but and that's why I think there's some additional information research of how things are implemented and yet still not be contrary to the state law. That's kind of where I'm at. So, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kara, for being here. It's good to see you again, as always. And Director Tolstead. Our next item is...
So our next item is item 4249, presentation of proposals for 212 East Front Street. And I have a stack of proposals that were given to me for distribution to council.
Okay.
So you can do that if you'd like.
Sure. Yeah, if it's something that can be looked at while we're having conversation or presentation. Mr. Robinson?
Yes, Your Honor and Council, as you know, in the last meeting, we basically tabled this discussion as there was to be more discussion to be had. I know that the council had further questions for the two proposals that we did receive that they might want answered. And as well as there were some clarifications that were in that at least one of our people who submitted proposals did not realize there were certain things that were not of interest to the city. And the council decided that they would table that and allow people to come back at this meeting during a work session to study this issue. And I know we have at least one, proposal from one of the proposers that is new from what you received the last time. And we have yet to know if there's anything new with the second one because we haven't received anything ahead of time. So this work session is simply to present and give the proposers the opportunity to discuss with council and the council the opportunity to ask questions.
Okay. So this is a work session, and I think most here may know, but I'll just review it. So at a work session, this is an opportunity for council to receive information, learn information, or have a conversation or in a discussion with those that may be here, or also internally with the council members. But there's not deliberation or action taken during a work session. At the agenda, there is is where decisions are made on a council agenda. And we'll discuss that as well, depending on what might go here or what action may be taken, whether it's moving forward for decision or moving forward for other steps that might be appropriate. So, Mr. Robinson, I don't know which we have. I'll say presentation, and we have two people, two groups.
Would you like to go first, Mr.? I'm happy to. Sure. Sure, why don't you go ahead, you go first.
So I know, and as you come, I know that at our last meeting, there was some information that was provided, so welcome.
Glad to be here. My name is Aaron Weens. I am the broker owner of a company called Weens and Roth Real Estate, and we have some investment properties. We have a property management company, and one of my partners, Joe Williamson, is here, who lives in the city, loves the city, and after speaking with Mr. Buds and Mr. Robinson, I think it was recommended that make myself available for questions, what the intent is, background as a developer, what the business plan is, what's the vision, what are the nonprofits that we've associated with that talked about what we plan to do with the property, and happy to share any of that, all of that, and just be accessible for whatever questions you might have.
So I'm just going to start and see if there's other questions. When we reviewed at our last meeting, so W&R Opportunity Fund is yourself, of course, and you had kind of different phases within a vision that you saw that for, and it said have an office for brokerage, but also new and exciting businesses to Monroe. And I just heard you say nonprofits. Is that just what you are associated with, or is that something that you're looking to I'll say provide at the location?
Yeah, there's different mixes. So one of the things that I've had a relationship with Mr. Tim Lake for a few years and the Business Alliance, and one of the things that they've had challenges with over the years was manpower or help on different things. And one of the concepts that we would like to expand on in the city, and I think we, as a startup company years ago, we took advantage of this, even in Toledo area, was co-working space, networking, working with other creatives, and making it an affordable way for smaller business and incubation businesses to have access to some place where they can share ideas. And I know one of the concerns of the Business Alliance and other people was that they're short on manpower. How do they accomplish that to some extent? And coming from that and having that experience, one of the visions that we saw as part of the building was having our staff update, renovate, manage the infrastructure, the IT requirements, the access requirements, the marketing, the social media. And we do that already in our real estate company. I think we do it well, but it's something that we're very specifically apt for. And I think the benefit to us isn't that you have 10 startups or 15 startups and they all rent a desk or hot desk for $100 or $200 a month. It's not a get rich scheme by any means. But our ancillary value that we think we're adding to that is that we think that's great content for our real estate company. It's not necessarily that we're selling real estate. It's that we intend to have a brand that's already started that Joel loves his community. He loves living here in Monroe. And the one thing that they've decided to brand is this moniker of living local Monroe and highlighting local businesses and interviewing local restaurants or different services in the community, highlighting events, and showing that off as I love it here, please come to my city too. And it just fits in really well with the housing that we do. And one of the things that they've taken to that is if we can incorporate the incubation side with that branding and interviewing entrepreneurs and helping them and providing them a place to take off and meeting that need, we think that's a really cohesive, and we think that's something the city needs more on, and we think it's a good fit for us to help out on there. I hope that answers your question on the nonprofit side of it. Yeah.
Sure. And I think I understand incubation space. I think council does as well. As you're renting space for those that can't afford I'll say brick and mortar location, yet they're in their early stages of their company and trying to not only establish their way, but maybe forge partnerships. I know there's a few that are across the state, different cities that have those, and it's like a shared space use.
Absolutely. And I think the Business Alliance wants to expand or views that important, but I also think that they have somewhat limited resources on how they want to accomplish that. And so having that public-private partnership is something that I think, when I was talking to Mr. Cochran about it, I think that was something that we thought was attractive because we see other benefits than just $50 a month rent to have internet, utilities, electricity for that entrepreneur to come in.
Okay. I have a couple more questions. We'll see if there's others from council members. Michelle?
Thank you. So what I'm seeing and hearing, I think, is one building, entrepreneurs come into that building, they rent from you, and they can have like a pop-up shop to start their business.
Yeah, and so there's a couple parts there. So if you were to ask my real estate development background, I would tell you that the worst investment right now would be office space. It's a terrible idea. There's a glut of it. It doesn't matter what city you're in. If you had a rank of 5 different classes from retail to industrial, self-storage, and office space is by far the worst. And it's not that the building's bad by any means, but it's because there's so much of it, the world has changed, right? No longer are we having a lot of big companies take up spaces. We're having more remote work, right? We're having more people online. We're having more people hybrid environment. And so I think we're challenged with, on the real estate development side, of how do you maximize potential? And so to answer your question more specifically, I don't think it's as much as people having a retail store shop, as much as I would love that. I don't think that's as much as a need, but it's the person that is in an engineering firm with 3 other guys, and one works in Indiana, and one works in Monroe, and one works in Pennsylvania, but they want a place to get out of the home because the kids are yelling or the dogs are barking. They want a place to check out, not every day of the week, but maybe 2 days a week. They just want to get out. And so for that one engineer or 2 attorneys or the graphic designer that wants to talk to other creative people, I think not only they want to get out of the house, but they need something affordable, and that rarely exists. And then in addition to it is they want to collaborate with other people that are like-minded, right? If you have one company that's starting up and having this vision on, we want to be the leader of we've talked this before, the leader of AI car headlights or whatever, and they're talking with a graphic designer who's working on a design for a spoiler on a vehicle or whatever, and just communicating with very like-minded individuals, even though they're not closely related. I think that's very appealing for a lot of entrepreneurs.
Thank you.
Questions or comments from council?
And I would say that's part of the vision because it's a large facility, right? And so I think some of the conversations are meeting other needs. And there's some other businesses that we've been in talk to that would like to place to go in Monroe, but they don't necessarily know how to go about it or other ideas. We've had conversations with food vendors about taking some of that green space and putting together a community night where we bring in multiple food trucks in an area where people can come and enjoy and use space downtown that they may not normally have had access to, and of thinking of a way to grow that area. We've had other people say, I'd really like a location for a daycare because we have a lot of employees that work downtown or other facilities, and we'd like another location where it's close by. We've had others with a brewery reach out and talk about trying to help secure equipment for them at other breweries that we have access to in other areas. So I think there's a lot of various things, and I don't think I'd be looking at so much development except for the fact that we really want to expand our presence in Monroe. We think the Monroe market, we think there's a lot of opportunity in the Monroe market to tell people how great it is, because I think if you look at real estate prices in Bedford versus north of Monroe, I think Monroe prices actually are lower than they should be. I think there's a need to highlight that it's great value and it's a market that we really want to grow relationships in. So the fact that we have a real estate office that's ready to move in and have multiple staff try to operate and showcase what it's like to live local in Monroe and be there, I think that's preempting the other development portion. So we can do that while we take time to do the other portion, because the development takes time. Even the conversation with Mark has probably taken 6-7 months, not to Mark's fault, but just trying to understand concepts and get there. And so it's hard to say we want to close on a building and then start right away. So the meanwhile is let's do the real estate office, let's serve the community through that while we continue to build the partnerships and relationships for the other portions that we've already started.
Okay. I want to make sure we have time for both presentations equally. I'll just kind of bring it to a close, I think, anyways, from what you just said. It really answers some of the questions that was my next question was, your proposal, what you just said is originally submitted, says about renovating office space on the office updates, on the one space, and the other phase was first floor white boxing, and then of course the incubator space on the second floor, as you said. So with that and then I think as I look through your lease proposal that you submitted was letter of intent to lease for a period of time, and those information is in there with the option to purchase at any time, but over a period of time when that commence available too. Any changes there? So
No, okay. I don't think so.
okay.
Yep.
I'll just see if there's other questions. If not, we may have some conversation afterwards. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
Joel, thank you. Mr. Robinson, I think we have one other, right?
We have another presentation that we just handed you the most recent documentation that they gave us on their proposal. And I believe somebody is here from the River Raisin Center for the Arts that would like to
Okay,
address the council.
come on. Hello.
Hello. My name is Christy Linster. I'm the president of the board of the River Raisin Center for the Arts. I'm also the vice president of Floral City Beverage, which my family has owned for 3 generations. I'm a lifelong citizen of the city of Monroe. I grew up on Riverview Avenue, and I currently live just over the bridge on Macomb Street. I'm also a mother of 4, ages 6 to 13. And I'm telling you this today because I have a vested interest in the city of Monroe succeeding, not just from a personal standpoint, but from a business standpoint as well. I want to start off with talking about what the RRCA needs. I want to explain that the River Raisin Dance Academy is the engine that pulls the entire whole theater. The money we earn from the Dance Academy pays the bills on the theater itself. All the great acts that the RRCA bring in at an affordable level, unfortunately, do not pay the bills of the theater. So therefore, we need to make sure our dance company has a stable home and is able to expand. Currently, the Dance Academy is located in four different studios. One is on our Cass Street, on Cass Street, that we talked about in the previous meeting. And then we have 3 studios at Benish, which is down the street from Cass, and then we also use our theater. This, as a parent of 3 dancers who take lessons, it's a logistical nightmare. I have to drop one kid off at Cass Street. I have to drop another one off at Benish. I have to pick up the one up from Cass and bring him to Benish because at night, at dark, I'm not comfortable letting even a 13-year-old walk down the street at that time of night. So it would be really great to just have one place that they all took lessons, one building that's safe and together. Another wrench to throw into our plans with our dance space is that this past summer, the Monroe County Mental Health has moved into the Benish building. And while we recognize the need for mental health services in our community, there has been several recent incidences at the Benish building that have highlighted the fact that it is no longer a suitable location for our children to attend classes while these programs operate at the same time and in the same facility. Our lease with Benish is up at the end of this month. We've been there for 10 years, but we need to move as soon as possible. We want to stay in the city of Monroe, preferably downtown and close to our theater. We need wide open spaces with no poles in the middle of the building. We can't have support poles in the middle of our dance spaces. We need space for music lessons. We offer voice lessons as well as lessons in 9 different instruments. We need space for newly formed children's orchestra. We're currently using Meadow Montessori. We just joined up with them, but we have to use their space because we currently don't have any space for it. And we have dreams of adding a jazz band and theater classes, but we currently don't have any space to do so. Why you should sell this building to the RRCA. We have searched the downtown area, and 212 East Front Street is the only building we have seen that has met our needs of wide open space, as well as being ADA compliant. We will be forced to leave this and look outside the city if we cannot find something that suits our needs. We've looked at the Mall of Monroe. We're looking at the mall by the Ambassador Hall where that used to be, the old Kroger Plaza. As an arts-based nonprofit, we have many opportunities for grants and corporate donations. However, they all require us to own the building, which we currently do not do. I drive by this building almost every day, and it has been vacant for years. If you sell to us, we can immediately move in upon closing. There's no risk on whether our business will still be around in a year or 2 or even struggle to open. We have been around for 36 years yesterday and have over 100 dance students currently enrolled in our dance classes this year. Each evening and most weekends, we would be bringing families and customers to the restaurants, coffee shops, yoga studio, and all the stores located downtown. We provide a service that Monroe is lacking according to several studies, and that is art, both education and performance, right in the heart of downtown. We have revised our offer as before you, whereas before we thought you were interested in Cass. We have taken that off our offer, and now we are just offering $300,000 upon closing, which would allow the city to recoup the purchase price from 2021. The RC is a nonprofit, and therefore the city would not be receiving property taxes from us. However, in lieu of this, we offer the city the west parking lot, the lot closest to Macomb Street, for $1 a year for 5 years with the right of first renewal. Although we believe the east side of the building provides enough parking for our families, if there was any overflow, it would not conflict with the hours the city would use it, as we operate after hours and on weekends. We firmly believe that the best is yet to come for the RRCA. We look forward to the many opportunities for collaboration with the city. This is an exciting time for Monroe as the role of the arts in the vitality of our community is beginning to be recognized. We hope you agree that the RRCA brings value to the community in educational enhancements, economic developments, and quality of life improvements. Your acceptance of our bid would be a dynamic statement of faith in the well-being of the Monroe community and would be a long-term investment in the arts and cultural health of our city. This is your opportunity to help us expand our arts campus and stay in downtown Monroe. We appreciate and thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Executive Director Mike, I want him to come up here because he can answer a lot of questions as
Okay,
well.
well, you can, I guess, both join and see if there's some questions from council members. Any questions? I'll just start briefly, because not that we don't have time, we do, and see if there's other council members. I appreciate the updated information, the presentation with some facts, I think that were, not that they weren't there before, but at least to hear some of the thoughts, vision, and planning moving forward. And then, of course, the revised proposal from the past one, that when we met here when we met last. I know that when we have, I'll say agreements such as this, I always look to my right over here, not just the manager, but of course the city attorney, those type of things that would take review. Actually, it'd be the case for both proposals, at least for me, but I'll wait and see what the council may have. As I look through this, I think it's kind of similar in some structure with the obviously the price difference, but also the understanding the property taxes as a nonprofit, but also the use of the parking lot. I think that was there before as well. The purchase agreement, I'm not sure that's much different other than, without going through details, other than numbers probably. And I'm just kind of going through, so see if there's questions here. Proposed improvements to the property, I think was similar, and the timeline. So that's the question I had. You made, in your statement, you said that your current lease at one of your locations is the end of this month or next month? I think you said this month.
The end of, well, we were able to get it extended.
So
We just got it extended to the end of November.
there's time that's not as critical as it was the last time we chatted, which
Got to
is,
move all my mirrors out.
okay, so at least we know what the time frame is. And of course, for both proposals, when I talk about this, because, there's, they each have a timeline of what might get done when it gets done in regards to the building and activities. So I'll stop here and see if there's questions from council members. If there's any questions.
May I say something on the
Sure
timeline?
enough, we'll see if there's questions from that.
It was definitely a speed thing and when we were offering Cass Street. But now that we're keeping Cass Street, our thought is we get the new building, we'd immediately build at least one studio. Then using the studio, we actually have 2 studios at Cass Street in the theater. We'd be able to continue and we would be out of our lease with Benish. They've been very nice and helpful. Ken Jenkins has been wonderful. But keeping Cass Street gives us a little flexibility there. But the idea is still, we are limited for the number of studios and the size of our studios. We have a second studio at Cass Street, but it's got poles and it's very small and it would just be our youngest people. So we're still concerned about time. We just have enough to basically build the studio and start moving right away, which we're going to have to do one way or the other.
Sure. Well, thanks for the follow-up on that, because I know I didn't state that, because in the previous proposal had that as a kind of a property of the city, but, while there is strategically decisions made by the council and the city about property acquisition, with what we use it for in the interim or what we use for looking for long-term. This happens to be one of those properties, and we're not necessarily looking to take more properties on unless if it's not in a current downtown master plan that I'm aware of, or with the city's plans as a location. So that's not a topic anymore, so.
No, it's not. Well, we like the idea that we're keeping Cass Street.
Yeah.
It's definitely helpful for the short term.
We still have the same time
Right.
where we want
We're
to
still
move
going to
over
go.
everything by March.
You may have a different transition plan for that facility rather than what was proposed last time. Let me say it that way.
I think one of our biggest concerns is with Fire Dance Academy, if we can't get more space and expand, then it limits everything else that the theater does.
Right.
And like Christy mentioned, we can't use office buildings or anything like that. It needs to be wide open space. So we like keeping Cass Street, but even it's too small for us.
Very good. Thanks. Council members, any comments? Well, I think the information from both is more enlightening than what it was from the previous, so that's beneficial. I'm not sure what the manager may be looking at, because while this does appear on our council agenda, I always say when they appear on council agenda, it just means it's there for action. And we still have two proposals, and there's still items, I think, that, at least I'll speak for myself, I don't speak for the council. I think there's items that are within both proposals that probably going to have some additional conversation, whether it be through the city attorney, the city manager. And while it does appear on city council's agenda tonight, and clerk and I chatted about that as well, because it was postponed and carried forward to the work session, we're wondering if it should have been on the agenda, but that doesn't matter, it is. So it's posted, it's on the agenda, we'll have to take some form of action. For me, I think there's better information than there was last time we both all chatted. So I think there's better information to make a decision on. And as we chatted last time, I know that the manager said, in the realm of the discussion was, should an RFP go out? And that's obviously an option as well. But we understand there's timelines for both of you as well. And of course, sometimes you have what's in front of us, and sometimes if you do other things, you may lose that, but also it might enlighten it further even. So I'm just saying that because it appears on the council agenda. I'm not sure what council may be coming forward with any motions. If I'll wait to see what that happens at that time. But this was an opportunity to get information and see if there's any questions from council. I knew if I talked long enough, there'd be at least one other question. Michelle, please.
So you already got approved for the $200,000 loan, or you are applying for it?
We talked to our banker, which is First Merchants Bank.
Yes, I see.
And we said what we wanted to do is borrow 200,000, we're gonna put $100,000 down, which was donated to us just this last week to do that. And she's been doing our banking for quite a bit. We have our mortgage with First Merchants. And so she just kind of said, yeah, that won't be a problem. As a matter of fact, when we get this loan for the mortgage, our monthly payments will be less than what we're paying now for Benish.
Okay.
And so she's like, she wouldn't say yes, but she seemed real happy with the idea. She congratulated us. That was the way we decided to go.
Okay, thank you.
Questions? I'll just say it's not lost on me that the building was owned by Monroe Bank and Trust as their call center that went to First Merchants that came to the city, and we're having discussion, and one of the parties here is going to First Merchants regarding the financing. So it's as the previous presentation said, it is Monroe, and I think we are a very tight community, just as what you present and what they present as well. So I appreciate that. If there's no other comments for this, thank you both for your time, and we'll see what comes out as we get into the council meeting and see what might be, but it is on the agenda, and we'll see if there's, if the manager has something to start with.
Thank you very much.
So we want to make sure we're cognizant of everybody's time as we deliberate on this. Mr. Robinson, anything further for the work session?
I don't have anything further at this time.
Is there any comments from council? We have about 4 minutes before we really have time. I know we have some items on the agenda that we'll have some further discussion on as well. Very well. If there's nothing for, I'm sorry, we took public comment at the time, but I think we have a few moments to take some comments. It's not an agenda for second opportunity, but I'll take some comments if there's present. Obviously, we allow 3 minutes, but if there's more than a few that want to speak, I just ask that we be brief. Name, please, and then Clerk Manier.
Clark. Tracy Oberleiter. I am not a resident of the city of Monroe. However, I am a resident of the county of Monroe and the Economic Development Corporation chairman for the past 15 years. And my comments aren't an official opinion from the Economic Development Corporation, but it's an observation from its chairman for the past 15 years. Some of you folks are on the Link Plan 2.0 committee, and I am as well. And there's a division of that, which is Launch 734. I just want to bring to the council's attention that there is incubator space now available at 9 Washington Street from the bank premises that once held some of the bank office people there. So we do have office space available for incubator space right now in Monroe. The economic impact, I want to explore that. The white or the elephant in the room is the sale of that building to a not-for-profit, and you'd have no real estate taxes going forward. We recognize that. We understand that that's a concern. But my vision through the Economic Development Corporation is you have to look bigger picture. Now, when we've got these 100 people, many are City of Monroe residents bringing their children down, and some are coming from the county, from Bedford, from Erie, from all over the county. And they'll come down to the City of Monroe once a week. They'll drop their children off or they'll stay there with them. But when they leave, they may have dinner downtown. But at the very least, when they leave and they go down Front Street, they're going to go by a printers. They're going to go by 2 eating establishments. They're going to go by some attorney offices. They're going to go by a men's clothing store. They're going to go by jewelers, and there's several more down there. Now, they might not stop then because they might not be open, but they'll remember that they're there. So the idea is they'll come back. So what the city might be forfeiting in real estate taxes by the sale of that to a not-for-profit will be generated by your clientele, your constituents that pay taxes to the city and will benefit financially from that activity. So I just want to make that very clear. The other thing that is important to the Economic Development Corporation, and the City of Monroe is a big partner in that, is having cultural activities available for its citizens. When business owners, business executives make decisions to come to community, they want to see cultural activities available for their employees. An investment by the City of Monroe having this cultural opportunity for its citizens or for its employees, oftentimes makes the difference of locating here or in Ohio or some other part of the state of Michigan.
You,
So-
Tracy, I want to see if there's another comment from other people as well.
Yeah, okay, so I'm done. Was that 3 minutes? Okay, I'm sorry about that. Thank you.
So I'll see if there's any other comments. I'm kind of a full perspective person. I'm very well aware of the league plan and what that brings and the different pillar teams that are on there. And of course, pillar teams are also on the development side of business. So I think that balances for me. I'll just have to say that, the 9 Washington Street does currently have incubator space, but the building's also for sale. So I can't say what it'll be in the future either. But we all know that what decisions we make today, we can't make them necessarily thinking what might come a year or a month from now. So, but we know it's for sale. So just have to share it, full perspective. Other comments from those present? Yes, sir. And if you get them say something, I have to allow the other applicant the opportunity.
Very brief. As much as we'd be excited to be here, we also understand the River Art Center is very deserving too. So we would not be completely disappointed if we didn't get it. Okay, they're a great group. The second point I want to make quickly is I thought I was going to talk about real estate. Didn't plan to get emotional, but the baby box was kind of cool. As someone whose mother left him at the hospital when she was 17, having a birth, it was kind of it's kind of neat to see someone who was giving mothers more opportunities to make decisions. And so whoever that was, I want to thank them for their presentation.
Thank you. That's Kara Dollar from Sale House. Other comments? Because we have about 2 minutes. Seeing none, I need it's a work session. This time, I'll close the work session and we'll be back at 7:30 for the regular city council meeting. Thank you.
Okay.
It's over yet? It's over yet? It's gonna be a long night. We're gonna be here forever. Well, this was, especially if Bob doesn't start the meeting. So what do you think? Drinks after? Drinks after? Drinks after? Yeah. Bill says you're looking for locations. Still. It is. Did you say Bonnie got something? Bill? No, I didn't. Yeah, I knew he wasn't doing well. Yeah. Oh. Hmm? Oh yeah. I mean, I would have. I don't want to keep you off. I'm good with that if you want.
Take these items, put them over there. Well, I know we're a couple minutes late, but we had some additional conversation. So at this time, I'll call the city council meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Vining. Jermaine.
Here.
Lamore. Pittman. Steelgrave. Mayor Clark.
All please rise for the invocation. Remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Guide us in our deliberations and discussions this evening. May our efforts promote the good of the residents of the city and all who visit.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is the approval of regular agenda.
Thank you. And so at this time, we look at the agenda, see if there's any amendments or approval of the agenda. Mr. Robinson, you have any items this evening?
In fact, in lieu of the information that we were just presented with, from both the proposals on item 4218 that's on our regular agenda, for looking for the opportunity for us to analyze these things and do our due diligence on these things, I would recommend a motion to remove 4218 from tonight's agenda and to schedule an additional work session in October with the action item to be scheduled at the next regular council meeting after the date of the work session.
Okay, look at the council, see if any questions on the motion. And before we take any action, I just want to say again, for those that may not have been at the work session and those that may be watching now that wasn't there, I recommend you go back and watch the work session to receive the same information the council did. It might help kind of give some foundation of today's request from the manager. A lot of information, new contracts, new discussion, and still within the timeline, which I appreciated getting that information this evening from both applicants on the timeline they're looking at. So that's the purpose for the request from the administration and the city manager. Any comments from council? If not, a motion would be in order. Councilman Lamore?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to make a motion to remove item number 4218 from tonight's agenda and to schedule an additional work session in October with the action item to be scheduled at the next regular council meeting after the date of the work session, and approve the rest of the regular agenda as written.
Okay, there's a motion by Councilman Moore, supported by Councilwoman Stillgrave. Well, before I do that, is there any other items on the regular agenda from council? Okay, so there's a motion, Councilman Moore, supported by Councilman Stillgrave, for the motion to remove item 4218 for the purposes and reasons stated, and the timelines for future return to council. If there's no further comments from council, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Vining?
Yes.
Yes.
Lamore?
Yes.
Felder?
Abstain.
Whitman?
Yes.
Stillgrave?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes, and just this goes back to our last meeting, Councilman Felder, with his employment and stuff is why the reason for abstain. I don't think we needed to take a vote or a motion on council. We've decided that previously regarding this topic, which then continues. So thank you, Councilman. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is the consent agenda, and for item B, approval of payments, the amount should read $1,361,352.62, 1361352.62.
Thank you. Are there any items on the consent agenda that council wishes to have pulled for further discussion? Any items on the consent agenda? Any items on the consent agenda, those present here this evening wish to have pulled for further discussion? And I ask that because our last meeting, I know that we had a comment that somebody thought that we bypassed their opportunity. So there's two items on the consent agenda. There's the purchase award regarding the bulk rock salt, and then the fall 2023 tree purchase. Any items on the consent agenda? Seeing none? Clerk, please call the, yeah. Oh, there's motion. Sorry, I'm moving forward here. Let's get the motion, then we'll make the vote. How about that? Councilman Felder, thank you.
I appreciate how expeditiously we're moving. I would like to make a motion that all items on the consent agenda be accepted, placed on file, and recommendations carried out.
Second.
Felder, supported by Councilman Moore, that all items on the consent agenda be accepted, placed on file, and recommendations carried out. Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
Lamore? Felder?
Yes.
Whitman? Stillgrave? Mayor Clark?
Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is under presentations, communications, and public hearings. Item 4240, public hearing for industrial facilities tax exemption for 525 Turns Drive.
Mr. Robinson, in this presentation, is there any other additional information before we start the public hearing? I know we had this discussed before.
Anything else you want to, yes? Mr. Cochran, our Economic Development Director, would like to provide some extra information.
Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council. Mark Cochran, Director of Economic and Community Development. I thought it might be prudent just to do a brief introduction on what the IFT request is. The industrial facilities tax exemption allows for an applicant to apply for a tax abatement on new capital investment into industrial facilities for a period of up to 12 years. The city received an application from Pioneer Metal Finishing, which was reviewed by the city's Economic Development Review Committee. Pioneer Metal Finishing is proposing to add an additional 8,775 square feet to their 50,000 square foot facility, which represents a $1.1 million investment. 120 jobs would be retained according to the application, as well as the creation of 9 new jobs. Pioneer did request the full 12-year tax abatement, which is being recommended by the Economic Development Review Committee. Part of the consideration from Pioneer, they did look at investments into some of their other facilities out of state and decided to make this investment into their facility in Monroe, based on the support that was received by the Economic Development Review Committee and what they hope to receive through City Council this evening. The requirement is that they have to obviously construct the 8,775 square feet in order to receive the abatement. And our department did already receive a draft site plan for review and approval from the applicant as well. And so that's, just thought it might be helpful to provide a little information into what was in the application and the action that's been taken so far.
Mr. Cochran, before we open the public hearing? See none? Thanks, Mark. So at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing on item 4240, public hearing for industrial facilities tax exemption for 525 Turners Drive. Any comments for the public hearing? Those comments, please state your name and then move forward.
Tim Lake, President and CEO of the Monroe County Business Alliance. I would ask that you kindly consider to give this company that's been in Monroe a long time Monroe employer, the full 12-year abatement. They continue to add and grow and expand, which is what we want to see. So if you haven't been at the facility, it's kind of unique in the fact that they do some anodized plating that's unusual and different. Their payroll is above average, so we just ask that you give them your consideration tonight. Thank you.
Other comments of public hearing from those present? I see there's a couple want to come forward. Please do. Names, please, and association.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Henneman. I am the general manager at Pioneer Metal Finishing. And Rob Simons.
I'm Rob Simons. Work at Pioneer Metal Finishing for the past 25 years, 33-year resident of Monroe County.
So we're just here to give you a little bit of a background on Pioneer Metal Finishing. Pioneer Metal Finishing was established 78 years ago in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Since then, the company has grown to 11 plants, 10 of them in the United States, 1 of them in Mexico. We have 3 facilities here in Michigan, the 1 in Monroe, and then 2 in Warren, Michigan. The one in Monroe is growing. We have an opportunity right now to bring on about $8 million in work, which is 9 direct employees, but we'll also have 3 indirect employees and 1 salaried person that we'll be adding to our staff with this increase. So pretty excited about this opportunity. The building's already underway, so we're seeing it. There may even be another addition to the building with some additional work that we're going to get, another 12,000 square feet that we'll be looking to do.
Oh, that's good. All comments after the public hearing. Thank you. Thanks for being here and give us some additional information. Other comments from those present here this evening for this public hearing regarding the industrial facilities tax exemption at 525 Turners Drive? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. And obviously, there's items that are on the agenda that come under the council action. These will come back forward for some deliberation by council or action by council. But we're currently in the presentations, communications, and public hearing component of the agenda. Mr. Robinson, our next item, or I'm sorry, Clerk Treasurer LaFleur, our next item.
Item 4248, a presentation, Summer Recreation Partnership Programming Update.
And Mr. Cochran's coming back up, so cut to the chase here.
Good evening again, Mayor, City Council. So this evening, as we did last year, since 2021, the city has contracted with a couple of great community partners to carry out recreation programming across our park system and throughout our community. The first partner is the Monroe Family YMCA, who the city has contracted with to carry out all of our community recreation programming, including all of our ball program, both Little League and adult, as well as a couple other programs that you're going to hear about this evening. It also includes some summer fitness opportunities as well throughout the park, like yoga in St. Mary's Park. And so we've invited them to give a presentation this evening, just an update on how the summer has gone. Our other partners, the Monroe County Opportunity Program and the Opportunity Center at the ALCC. MCOP carries out all of our tot lot programming through the city, as well as special event programming at Labor Park. And so this evening, in addition to their presentation, I'm also going to update you as a result of these community partnerships. It's opened up additional capacity in our Parks and Rec division to help facilitate special events throughout the city, as was a goal and priority of the city council. And so I'll update you on some of those activities. But first, Stephanie Kasperzak from MCOP and the Opportunity Center at ALCC is going to present on how their summer went. So, Stephanie.
All right.
Just hit the forward backward.
Perfect. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. I'm Stephanie Kasperzak, MCOP in the Opportunity Center. Thank you for this opportunity to come and present to you tonight. We had a wonderful summer at the Opportunity Center, and I'm so proud of all the great activities that we've been able to do in our 4 years now at the Opportunity Center. But this summer was like none other. So I just want to share a few things with you this evening. First of all, we had our summer day camp, which started actually January 20th, because June 19th was Juneteenth. And so we started June 20th. We went for a full 8 weeks of summer camp. We served a total of 49 youth. We had between 15 and 20 kids every week for our summer day camp program. We did provide breakfast and lunch in partnership with Sodexo and Monroe Public Schools, and our summer camp sessions were really engaging. We did a kidpreneur camp where the kids learned from entrepreneurs to how to start their own small business. We had health and fitness camp where they did nutrition education, got some physical activity. Discover Monroe, you see a great picture. Not only did we take the kids to Indian Creek Zoo, which they absolutely love with the animals, but they got a court tour with Judge Arnold and Lohmeyer, which they absolutely love. So we did a lot of fun activities across Monroe. Amy Arnold does our very popular art classes, and we had young authors camp. So we had young authors, including children who've written books. Every day the kids got a book. They got to hear from authors how they wrote their own book, and then they started their own story as well. So wonderful 8 weeks of summer day camp. We also did Tot Lot. Thank you for the opportunity to do Tot Lot. Once again, we had 6 locations. Slight change from last year. We took one of the locations off and added St. Mary's this year. So we have 6 locations. We're open from 10 to 12:30 at each of these locations, Monday through Thursday. We operate this through our Summer Youth Employment Program. So we have 2 youth from our Summer Youth Employment Program at each Tot Lot location. And then we have a full-time youth coordinator who goes around to make sure all the activities are going well. And then we have Sodexo come for breakfast and lunch to make sure that all the kids get fed. So you can see there we served 880 youth, and we served 6,138 meals. So not only do people come for Tot Lot, but they come to all of these locations for a meal as well. We have a couple of big recreation programs that we did this summer. We're branding the Center Youth League. So we started with a basketball league this summer, which was incredibly popular. It was so great to see so many people in that hot gym. But we had 139 kids participate and 23 volunteer coaches. So this was just a wonderful activity that we're now going to do year after year. We're going to brand the Center Youth League, and we're going to start with soccer league this summer, or this fall. So that'll be coming here in the next month. But we also worked with Devin Kennedy, and we did flag football, where we had 46 kids and 4 volunteer coaches who helped out with that. So recreation was very active this summer. So our Summer Youth Employment Program, you guys are familiar with. We had 20 youth this year. You guys recall when we started, we had 9. We went from 9 to 11 during the second year. And this past year, we had 20 youth who were employed in the summer doing various activities. They help in Labor Park. They help in the kitchen, as you can see here. They help us with summer camp and at all the Tot Lot locations. This year, with the help of the city, we added a new career pathways program. So whereas Tot Lot goes Monday through Thursday, we had the kids still come on Friday, the teens, and each Friday they learned a different skill. So one week we had an entrepreneur where the teens learned if they want a career path in entrepreneurship, they could learn how to start their own business. We had a technology person from a local guy, Nolan from Elm Avenue Co-working, and he came and talked about the technology field. We had skilled trades, higher education. So every Friday, the kids learned about a different career pathway. And not only that, but they learned soft skills about being employed, what it takes to be a good employee, dress code things, how to show up on time, those kind of things as well. So it was a wonderful, wonderful program. We look forward to having that next year as well. We had a lot of wonderful events, which you can see here. We had our Get Your Mind Right Summit in May, which was mental health awareness event. We had our Juneteenth celebration. We had the first outdoor movie night, which was incredibly popular. We had the Fifth Third E-Bus and ProMedica come. They did financial literacy, and then ProMedica did some health-related things in August. And then our very popular Back to School Bash. We had so many wonderful volunteers out that night and more than 500 participants for our Back to School Bash. So all of those events were incredibly successful this year. The Rotary this year adopted the sharing garden. So not only did they come in the spring and help us clean up, they put down new mulch, and they also planted all the flowers and the vegetables for us. So we were very, very appreciative of the help from the Monroe Rotary. And then finally, murals. The murals turned out so great this year, as they do every year, but there's just a little snapshot of each and every one of them. Woody Hoffer from our advisory council really takes the lead on planting seeds, and this year we had a wonderfully successful mural season. So that's what we've been doing at the Opportunity Center. Thank you, as always, for the opportunity, and then I think I turn it over to Kristen. Is that true? All right, Kristen, you're up.
Thank you, Stephanie. Kristen, good to see you.
Thank you, guys. Honorable Mayor, City Council, thank you for having me. We had a great summer too, like Stephanie. I feel like we have a lot going on. Oh. Oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah, you're great.
Oh, here we are. I want to thank you for inviting us to partner with you on community recreation programs. We're in year 2. We feel it went awesome. We were able to expand our offerings and the program participants too, and you'll see. I will just have to say Amy and the Parks Department have been awesome. They have shared information with us. I said it last year too. They've been very gracious. We also cross-promote a lot of our programs, so that I think that helps both organizations. And last year I said Brad and his department, amazing. You have the best park crew, I think, in Michigan. They will do anything. They're easy to work with, and it makes it a lot easier when they line the fields and get the fields ready for us to come and program them. So just want to publicly say thanks to them. This picture I used, you can't really see it, but this was on our All-Star Night, and it shows the partnership that we have. This is with city PD and fire departments. They sponsored quite a few youth ball teams this year, and they came out for All-Star Night and interacted with the kids, and thought it was really good. And Mayor Clark was there for All-Star Night, and Mark, I want to thank you guys for coming, even though we got rained out and lightning delayed. But that's okay, it made it interesting. We made up those games a couple weeks later, and the kids and parents loved it, and so it all worked out. So I just want to thank you for your support. I call it my security team here with me, and I need to introduce them. Hawk Melky is my community recreation director, and Jay Heiserling is our Y on the Fly mobile sports director. I also have Andrew Todd, who is our amazing volunteer. He volunteers so many hours, I can't even tell you how much. But these guys were really the faces of our program, and a lot of feedback I heard was that they were there for every practice, every game, and the service that they provided to the kids and parents was second to none. So I want to publicly thank you guys for all the time that you put in. All right, let's talk youth ball at Munson Park. I put a lot of numbers in there, but last fall, in November, we were blessed to be recipients of a grant through the Good Sports Organization, and they contacted us and they said, "Hey, give us a wish list of everything you need." We're like, "Oh, we could use youth ball equipment," and Jay put together like a whole wish list of stuff. We ended up with $16,000 worth of equipment, and we cycled all the old city equipment out and it was softball and baseball helmets, softball and baseball bats. I mean, nice bats that you use in travel ball, equipment bags, whistles, everything we could possibly want. We felt like we could really provide that to the kids, and we did. The only thing we didn't get was baseballs and softballs, and those really went up in price through COVID, whatever. We didn't get them, but we got everything else. So we were really excited about that. I called Mark and had to show him pictures and stuff, had to bring them in. You'll see here our summer, everything increased in our summer and fall ball leagues. I can't even believe it. We talk about how packed the parks were. We're 37% increase in summer youth ball. This included T-ball, junior, minor, and majors. We collaborated with the Dundee Junior Vikings this year, and we provided a countywide travel league. And so our teams went to Frenchtown, Dundee, Summerfield, Ida, and it was a really good experience for the kids to get the travel league experience and not play the same team over and over again. So we got a lot of good feedback on that. Fall T-ball increased. We have 200 kids in fall T-ball. We just tried fall T-ball last year. We didn't know if it would even run. And this year's like, holy cow, the first day I got a picture from Jay's like, look at this. And it's like, wow, it feels like summer. So that's a great program. We'll keep doing that. We have a lot of requests to run for older kids next year, so we'll implement that next year. The pictures. The bottom two pictures are the T-ball, and the middle bottom is how T-ball usually runs, right? Everybody runs to the ball. And then the bottom right, that's Brad's team, his all-star 12U team. And the top right is, I put that picture on there because we had Ellie Sealer come a lot. She is a Monroe High grad, incredible softball player. She plays at U of M right now, but she came probably 4 or 5 times to talk to the kids and mentor the kids. And the girls love that. And then the middle picture is, I just grabbed that picture. It says Thrift Shop of Monroe. That's our sponsorship program that we started this year. The city let us do that. And we sold banners at all 4 of the core fields and for $2,000 each, and then we split the money. So we were able to buy the baseballs and softballs, and then Brad was able to put a shed up in like an equipment shed up, I think is what he did with it. And that worked out for both, so we're thankful for that. Other youth programs at Munson Park, summer tennis. We ran summer tennis. We received a grant from the Ralph C. Wilson Foundation for tennis rackets. So we gave tennis rackets to all the kids who were in our summer tennis program. And then we just started the fall Tiny Tacklers football program, and we have an increase in that, but that's actually starting next week, so we're expecting more kids in that. Adult softball. This is going really well, too. Donnie Jones is still our director of adult ball. He does a good job. I put the bottom picture of the concession stand up. This year we got our food service license, and we're serving hot food out of that concessions. I mean, it's hot dogs, pretzels and cheese, walking tacos, and popcorn, but it's still something. We broke even on that, but I think it was a good service to the community that they could come and eat, not healthy food, but they could come and eat something. And the top pictures are co-ed spring champs. So we increased in everything, which is good because we weren't sure how it was going to go, except for summer, but we think that's because there was other summer offerings around. But our fall league looks pretty good. And that started, I think we're in week 1 or 2 of that. Other adult programs, Mark already talked about the Summer Fitness Series at St. Mary's Park. We started that in 2021. It's a 6-week series, runs 2 days a week. Yoga and cardio drumming we do. The picture I have on the right is Tanya running people through yoga. We had to cancel 2 days due to weather this year, but I think the numbers would have been right on if we hadn't canceled those 2 days. Wiffle ball is still running. And disc golf, we are running at Munson, and then we end that last day with a course at Parmalee Park. So we're going to continue that. And finally, we like to talk about our adaptive programs. We're really making a difference here. I love this program. We've been trying to do this for years, and it has finally taken on when we took over the city, when we got the parks and stuff. So I really am thankful for that. Summer T-ball went from 50 to 63 participants, and this is just drop-in. This is Saturday mornings drop-in. We don't charge for it. We have staff out there, and kids play. And we're running soccer. This is the first time we tried soccer. The first week was last week, and we had 11 kids there, and that's a win. That is a win. So the pictures are soccer, and then the one to the right are the adult or adaptive T-ball. And through this, we're spinning off. We're running adaptive swimming at the Y, and this is my shameless plug. So Monday nights at the Y from 6:30 to 7:30, we're closing the pool and we run adaptive swimming there. And I counted today, we had 25 people in that pool today. So, and that's free too. So if you know of any kids, we'll take the kids. Plans for the future, we'd love to program Carnes Park pickleball when that starts. And Hawk is talking about doing something with that skate park. I don't know what we're gonna do at Munson, but I'm gonna see what ideas he has. And Andrew, I'm gonna bring him up because he was a great volunteer and I think he should have the opportunity to talk, so.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. Again, it just, as Kristen said, volunteer coach. I've coached youth sports a little over 10 years. This is my second year at the Y. I feel this year was very special. Reason why is Jay and Hawk have done an excellent job with the youth sports, bringing in more of the community. This is the first year that we've had Ida, Dundee, Mason, Brent Deerfield, everyone joining together as a rec league and playing at their fields, our home field at Munson. And just to see everyone come together within Monroe County is pretty special. I mean, these kids are going to grow up playing ball together, probably playing against each other in high school and be like, oh, I remember you, and all those good times. And hands down, All-Star Night is an amazing experience. This might be the first and last time kids will ever play underneath the lights. I mean, as a kid, I remember my first time playing under the lights and be like, wow, I feel like a big leaguer, right? So it's an excellent opportunity to bring the community together. It was great to see you, Mr. Mayor Clark, out there as well. We had the fire department, PD was there, passing out little badge stickers. I saw kids with a bunch of stickers and fire hats. So just hands down with the YMCA, with everything they're doing with the youth sports, it's really nice to see how everything's coming together, bringing the community together. So it's something special, and I'm glad a part of it. So I plan to continue to hopefully still have me coaching. So yeah, I'll keep it short. I can go on for hours talking about how well this program's going. So thank you, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Mark?
And I'll close it out briefly. I wanted to say in regard to the two presentations we just saw, both of them going back to the city council goals and objectives in terms of community partnerships and also making sure that our parks are usable for all. I think about when we had the student advisory council before COVID with Mayor and Dr. Everly when she was with Monroe Public Schools, and the youth told us they wanted opportunities to work. And MCOP is providing the youth employment program and the adaptive ball programs I'm particularly proud of with the YMCA to make sure that all of our residents of all abilities can enjoy our parks, whether it's the amenities and then the handicap and the accessibility amenities that we're installing in the parks, or great programs like the Y. So I just wanted to wrap it up with what the events the city has hosted throughout our park system. In our 2023 summer concert series was by far the most popular events that we held. We had 12 concerts this year. We had 13 scheduled, but unfortunately one of our most popular ones got rained out. But in the summer, throughout our 12 concerts total, we had 34,437 people in St. Mary's Park throughout the summer enjoying those live events. And new this year, we were able to add the Finally Friday programs, which are smaller concerts in Altrusa Park downtown as part of the social district on Friday nights. Select Friday nights, we have 4 scheduled. You can visit some of the social district participating restaurants, grab a drink, enjoy some live entertainment in Altrusa Park from 5 to 7. And we have 2 more of those on September 22nd and September 29th. I really have to give, as you've heard tonight, a lot of credit to Amy Mason. Working with her, we updated our sponsorship program this year. Typically, we bring in about $4,000 to $5,000 in sponsorship revenue for our concert series. And Amy and I worked and put pencil to paper, and this year we were able to gain $19,300, almost quadrupling our sponsorship revenue, which has allowed us to add more concerts and add the Finally Fridays and increase the quality of some of our other events. And so 2023, our presenting sponsor was Monroe Community Credit Union. They were the largest donor, and they presented the entire concert series. And then, of course, we had a lot of other generous businesses as well contribute to this summer's events in our park system. Total, we had the court dances, the daddy-daughter dance, the line dancing night. We had 3 of those, mother-son bowling, the Halloween Bark in the Park was a new event this year, or last year. Our scavenger hunt, for those who want independent activities throughout our park system, Amy has developed some scavenger hunts that she posts on social media. You can go out and independently explore our parks and find the items that are on the scavenger hunt. And if you turned and completed, you're entered to win a prize. And so we've given out quite a few prize baskets this year and hoping to grow that independent recreation opportunity. We had 26 garden plot rentals new this year. We did 2 indoor movie nights at the Battlefield Education Center, taking advantage of that state-of-the-art theater to also make sure that we're providing quality events for our families during the winter time as well. And we had both of those were sold out last year with 144 families and participants. And then as Stephanie mentioned, we also had an outdoor movie night at Labor Park that was very well attended as well and popular. So mark your calendars. We do have some stuff coming up yet. The 2 Finally Fridays, this Friday, Lonnie Stump, and then September 29th, Dixie Highway, both of those at Altrusa Park. A new event this year is more targeted for adults in St. Mary's Park this Friday night. Is a movie night. We're branding it a date night, but we're showing Casablanca beginning at 7:45 in St. Mary's Park for adults. If you want to bring a date, if you want to have a girls' night out, if you just want to attend and watch a classic black and white movie under the stars, this will be a great opportunity. Again, participate and visit some of our social district businesses, and St. Mary's Park will be open for the social district Friday night for that event as well. And then our Bark in the Park is coming back. That was a very popular event that we did last year for our 4-legged residents to come and dress up and visit some of our businesses, collect some treats and other items. That will be Saturday, October 14th from noon to 2 in St. Mary's Park. So I just want to wrap up the presentation and thank City Council for all of your support for all of these events and the partnerships that we just went through tonight as we all endeavor to improve the quality of life for our residents and make it a better place to live. And all of these events, partnerships, and opportunities all contribute toward that. And we couldn't do it without your support. So thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And thank you for the presentations all through the summer recreation program. It's been a great year. I know there's a lot of activities there and a lot of positive comments as well. Thanks. So we have yet a couple more items on the presentations and communications. Clerk Lavoy.
Item 4247, Draft Opportunity Center at ALCC budget for fiscal year 23-24.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes, Your Honor and Council. Pursuant to the funding agreement that we have with the MCOP for operations of the Opportunity Center at ALCC, they transmitted a draft budget. It's just a draft because they don't finish their budget process till the end of the month. And it's just basically for your awareness because that's one of the things that is incumbent upon them based on the funding agreement that we have.
And I understand you have a session scheduled for further discussion as this gets finalized.
As a matter of fact,
before
we
it
have a
goes back.
meeting tomorrow morning to discuss some of the items on their budget.
So as you look through that communication with the draft budget for fiscal year 23-24, be mindful of the fact that manager and Stephanie and team will be a meeting to discuss that to kind of finalize some of the numbers. But if there's thoughts you have as you look at that, please get with the city manager.
Item 4212, Halloween Trick or Treat Night, October 31st, 2023.
Great. Every year we do a proclamation because we want to make sure that the Halloween night is scheduled not only just in the city but with our adjoining townships. It makes it convenient for all and people that are spending the one night knowing when that is going to be. And so The proclamation, I'll just state, is, of course, as we normally do, it'll be on night of Tuesday, October 31st, 2023, between the hours of 6 p.m. and 8 p.m., and it's the Halloween trick-or-treat night in the city, and my understanding is that's the same as what it'll be with adjoining townships as well. So it's really, while it's a proclamation, we state that because we put it out to the residents, the community, but also at this meeting to make sure everybody knows when that's going to be. And of course, it is Halloween night. So that's the presentation for the proclamation. Clerk, next item.
The next item is under council action. Item 4241, resolution to adopt industrial facilities tax exemption for 525 Turns Drive.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson, any additional comments? I know Mr. Cochran presented, and we had a couple comments as well.
No, Your Honor and Council, this is just the actual action item for the council to vote on extending the tax increment, the IFT, to Pioneer Metal for their expansion.
Okay, before we take a motion, is there any comments from council? I know that this was presented through the committee, the development committee. So if there's no other comments, this is up for action. Councilman Germaine?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to make a motion. Item number 4241, resolution to adopt industrial facilities tax exemption for 525 Turns Drive. Move to adopt the proposed resolution in support of a 12-year FIT exemption certificate for Pioneer Metal Finishing LLC be adopted by the City Council, and notification of this action be transmitted to the State of Michigan Department of Treasury.
Motion by Councilwoman Germain, supported by Councilwoman Stelgrave on item 4241, the resolution to adopt the industrial facilities tax exemption for 525 Turner's Drive. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Vining? Yes. Germaine?
Yes.
Lamore?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Whitman?
Yes.
Steelgrave?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. I'm just going to make a comment on that because as Councilman Feller and I serve in that committee as well, as it got to the discussion, I think it was brought up during the presentation from Rob or Caitlin, Catherine, is the labor part of that, and some of the discussions we had about local companies that were being involved within the improvements that are going to be made at the facilities. I thought that was beneficial to see and read, and I'm glad they put that in the presentation. Clerk, next item.
The next item is item 4243, proposed sale of city-owned parking lot. And then it's a parcel 69015090001.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson?
I would like to ask if Director Cochran could introduce this item so we can explain, so that, because sometimes it's a little difficult with the parcel number. It's about 16 numbers as you're reading it, and he'll have a better description.
Sure. Mr. Cochran?
Good evening. So this evening, we're bringing before you a proposal from Riverview Stitching to purchase the parking lot that's located just north of their building. So to orient you, the Macomb Street Bridge, at the north foot of the bridge is the old, I believe it was a Christ Scientist Church. Riverview Stitching purchased it, and they're requesting to purchase the parking lot that's next to that before you get to the intersection of Elm and Macomb from the city. A couple different reasons why they're requesting to purchase it, and also why administration is supporting the conveyance of the parking lot. First, there's about 20 parking spaces in this parking lot. It's not been signed and promoted as a public parking lot for quite some time, for many, many years, nor is there a time limit, nor do we charge for parking in this parking lot. Ample parking is provided on the south side of the river, including long-term lots, and on the street. I was counting it up. There's about 164 parking spots that are available in the Macomb Street, or the Macomb and Front Street lot along the river, as well as the new parking lot that the city purchased next to First Merchants. Again, that's available free parking as well as the on-street parking in that area. Typically, when we look at areas that need a public parking lot, it's where there's a large congregation of businesses. In the Central Business District, there is no parking requirement for businesses, as they rely primarily on public parking. However, this property in the Riverview Stitching is not located within the Central Business District. They're zoned office. And they do have a parking requirement, which they're not able to meet because their property is landlocked. And so they rely on that parking lot to the north. Also, part of the requirements for their certificate of occupancy, because of the change in use from a church to office commercial, is handicap accessibility. The city has been working with them on opportunities for them to meet the accessibility options. Primarily, it's going to require them to construct a handicap ramp on the front of the building leading to the sidewalk in the parking lot. Due to the constraints and the small size of their parcel, they can't build that according to the regulations for ADA accessibility with the ramp incline. And so they need to build that on part of this parking lot. And so we looked at a couple different options to give them interest in order to facilitate that. And so any conveyance of this parking lot would be conditioned upon them securing the permits within 6 months to construct the handicap ramp and get their full certificate of occupancy. The rate of $30,000 that they're offering is what our assessor's office has for the true cash value of the parking lot. And I will say we've been in discussions with them for about 2 years. They reached the financial position to be able to execute the purchase this month, and that's why we're bringing it to City Council. So,
Mark, any questions or comments from council? Councilman Felder?
Yes, Your Honor, I have a few questions. Director Cochran, do they want the parking lot?
they do, yeah.
Would they be purchasing it if they were not required to achieve their certificate of occupancy because of the minimum parking requirements?
Yes, because they have no parking for their building right now. They rely on that parking lot to serve their customers. And so they need dedicated parking, and they can't always provide that on the south side of the bridge with this parking lot. Sometimes there's public parking in it. Obviously, there's some downtown business owners that do park in this lot because it is not advertised as a public lot. There's no time limit and they don't charge. However, there is parking available to them just across the river and the other lots that I indicated as well.
Gotcha. So there is parking available to them now in the public lot that this currently is. Yeah. But their fear is that those spots not being reserved would mean that they may not have them available to them at all times.
Yeah, sometimes there are people who park in there long-term as well, which certainly we don't encourage, but I know on some instances, their dumpster is also located in this parking lot that serves their building. Sometimes there's vehicles that block that and stay for long periods, and so there's some challenges with that they've experienced as well.
Additional?
Yeah. Regarding the city's parking policy, I know we've tried to remove a lot of restrictions by removing many of the parking meters. I think that at the goals and objectives session, and probably before that as well, when City Manager Pastou was still here, we engaged in some discussions regarding the extent to which the city is covered in parking lots and the percentage of which the city is made up of non-developable sites that are otherwise empty. A large portion of these parking lots are private parking lots that are not open to the public and sit vacant most of the time. As we are landlocked on either side by chartered townships, we do not have a capability within ourselves to expand. And so we need to try and, make do with what shovel-ready sites that we have. We've discussed creating a denser parking solution in the past, in looking at the feasibility of parking structures to take some of these other parking lots, turn them into developable sites where we could put new buildings on or have new businesses move into, or have developers, like we're here early tonight, try and build something new in the city and create increased density and increased walkability. I think in many cases, part of the reason that the city is not as walkable as we all would like to see is the distance that services are from each other. Creating a denser community that is less dedicated to cars and more dedicated to people is one of the ways that we can make that happen, and that's why we formed a Trails Committee. So, we're taking steps to get there, but I still think that there is an undue emphasis on minimum parking requirements and private parking lots, although parking lots by themselves but especially private parking lots that sit vacant for the majority of the time and are not usable by the public. So I am skeptical of not just this proposal, but all proposals that are going to put an emphasis on parking lots and that are going to transfer them into private ownership. I think that we have in the past held an emphasis to try and control public parking for that very region, to make it available to the businesses in the central business district. And I know that the zoning codes are different for the different business districts as well. But I think this sounds like it's part of a larger conversation. I'm one vote. I'll yield it to council if they want to move forward. If you're saying the property owner really does want to have this property reserved for them, I don't know that I want to stand in the way of it, but I'd rather just change the minimum parking requirements so that they don't have to buy it.
So if I may, Your Honor, so part of Riverview Stitching gets a lot of out-of-town business. In addition to local business, they get a lot from Southeast Michigan because there are no other stitching and cross-stitch, both suppliers, and they teach a lot of classes that bring in people to the downtown or into the business. And so certainly we want to encourage our residents and folks in the downtown, the central business district, the DDA area to park and walk throughout the downtown. Again, this property isn't part of the central business district. We don't consider it part of the downtown. I think those parking requirements and thinking about, that's why we don't have parking requirements in the central business district is for that very reason. But I know that's part of the interest for the property owner as well, because she does get a lot of out-of-town business and folks who come to Monroe from out of town that need a place to park to visit her business. So I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that.
Other comments from council? Councilman Lamore.
Thank you, Your Honor. I do think this is I know the owner, and I believe that they are very happy to purchase the lot. And I think the biggest reason is they are landlocked. They have nowhere else to park realistically within that area. And the other reason is because they do need that accessibility ramp, which would extend into the current parking lot. So there is a valid concern to have it for them and a need exhibited by the ramp necessity. So and then they are pretty well packed. That lot is pretty well packed when they are open. So I can say that they are pretty good about making sure that their customers are comfortable, and they are mostly out of town people, as Mark stated. So I think this is a good proposal. And the other thing is they would be maintaining the parking lot as well. So it'd be off the taxpayers' backs, so to speak, to maintain the parking lot, which can be quite cumbersome for the city to undertake from year to year.
Other comments? I think both comments are valid. We've had conversation about parking, and as I say that, there's many parking spaces, and at times it's more of a walking problem than a parking problem. And when you think about distances, and you want to be close, of course, because you can sight and see and move forward. But I think part of some of the consolidation we've done, some of the property acquisition, was around not only the potential and opportunities, but the opportunity to obtain large parcel, whether that stays as a parking lot, if there's a desired movement forward, both public and private, regarding parking garages. But I know that the recent lot that was purchased with the First Merchants Bank facility, many of the county employees are now using that lot as well, because we're trying to consolidate those. And as we look at that, how that alleviates some of the other parking for whether it be development or use for commercial or residential use. So it is a long-term plan. There's no question. I think this is just one of the lots that, well, it has some use. I think it has, as was stated, there's benefits for it, but there's also benefits for the business that's there and is making an interest to purchase for reasons I think that are valid. So that's my comments. I just think it's, I don't know who else had parked there previously. I see periodic cars, but I think that their business is improving. I know there's more involvement. Interestingly enough, I think it's one of the few of that type of business that's in the county. I know there's another that I can think of, but from a downtown perspective and bringing people, there's benefits to that too. Other comments? So, Mr. Robinson, this is before the city council for proposed sale of the city property lot, as the item states, the property item, and then the sum of money. If there's no other comments, this is up for council action for a motion. Oh, Councilman Lamore, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor. Make a motion to authorize the sale of the city-owned parking lot at parcel number 69-01509-001 to Laura Murillo, owner of Riverview Stitching, for a sum of $30,000.
Second.
It's two of them. There's a motion for Councilman Lamore, supported by Councilman Felder. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Vining?
Yeah.
Jermaine?
Yes.
Lamore?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Whitman? Stilgrave? Mayor Clark?
Yes. Clerk, next item, please.
Next item is item 4239, authorization for code enforcement legal action.
Mr. Robinson.
Your Honor, usually these items go on the consent agenda. However, there was interest and there were residents that appeared to one of our previous meetings about one of these addresses specifically. I don't know whether they're here today. However, even if they're watching, I think it was good that we bring this item to council action as we move to authorize our city attorney to proceed the filing of the complaints to the circuit court to enforce the blight abatement. And the addresses are 503 Norwood Drive, 1270 East First Street. And the address that was in question that we had previous residents attend this meeting, ask question about, was 129 Borges.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council? As we stated, we've had these properties, not these properties, properties in general regarding blight abatement, and it can be followed on our city's webpage as far as the actions that have been taken, what's got to this point regarding why we're requesting, or the administration is requesting council to send it toward filing a complaint in circuit court. So I just want to, I know there's up for council action, but sometimes, as we had at our last meeting, it was on the consent agenda, the gentleman was here, thought maybe we bypass that. I know that there's always public comment at the end of the meeting, but in this particular case, is there anybody from any of these three residents that wishes to speak to these three? They may be owners or a complaint filed. Seeing none, it's up to council. Councilman Lamore.
Just want to make a motion, Your Honor. Motion to authorize the city attorney's office to proceed filing complaints and pursuing circuit court judgments to enforce blight abatement and/or code enforcement at 503 Norwood Drive, 1270 East First Street, and 129 Borges Avenue.
Motion by Councilman Moore, supported by Councilwoman Stilgrave on item 4239, authorizations for code enforcement legal action for the items and locations stated. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Vining? Jermaine?
Yes.
Lamore?
Yes.
Felder? Whitman? Stilgrave?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. Next item,
I
please.
have no further items this evening.
As the agenda shows, there was an additional item, but that was removed at our action on the amendment of the agenda. And it's still September. I know I'm looking back and forth. Councilwoman Vining, comments this evening?
No comment.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Germaine.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to congratulate the Opportunity Center, the LCC, and RY for a great year and a great partnership. Thank you for all that you do for our community. That's all, Your Honor.
Councilman Lamore.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you once again. I agree with Councilperson Germaine that the MCOP, the Opportunity Center, has been a great success, and once we're seeing it again here in proof in the pictures and everything that's going on here. So thank you for your great efforts, and all the staff and all of the people, the volunteers, et cetera. We really appreciate that, because that's exactly what we want as our community to come back together and stay together. That's all I have to say. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. And Councilman Felder.
No comments this evening, Your Honor.
Councilwoman Whitman.
I have no comments this evening. I think that this has been a good, productive council night, and I'm really happy with the way that they talked about the parks and the recreation and all the successes with St. Mary's Park, and I think things are changing and looking up, and I feel good about that. So I'm just glad to be here and have no real comments.
Thank you. Councilwoman Stelgrave.
I too want to thank Stephanie and Kristen for their reports and everything that you do. Don't forget Friday, they're showing the movie in the park at 7:45. They have Finally Fridays, which I'll Choose the Park has music in that. And I want to thank everybody that gets up and stands at that podium because I know how hard it is. And we appreciate you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a few comments. There's a few announcements. So I do want to touch on one of the items that was on the council's consent agenda regarding the tree purchase. We've talked about this for years as far as through the storms and before the time frame when we plant trees and have to trim trees, and when storms come and trees are removed, which led to and it was mentioned, I think earlier, we have a tree advisory committee. I know that during this particular item that there was communications, meetings that maybe not have occurred, but what was taking place today was the approval by the council for the expenditure of an amount in which to make the purchase. And there's two companies that were selected through those that were presented. And I think in overall total, it's $56,786, and I believe it's 212 trees that'll be planted here this fall. And then, I think that sounds like a lot until you realize there's 11,000 trees, and it's about 3%. But you do it incrementally so they're not all planted at the same time. When it would be affordable too, then they'd all be at the same age at the same time. So it is, I almost said a growth, but that's exactly what it is. But that said, I know there's some communications. I really appreciate the communications that were received. Council may have been copied as well, I'm not certain. From the chairperson of the tree commission, some tree committee, the opportunity to have some additional dialogue. Understanding that this is the purchase, but yet there's an opportunity, I believe, with the manager that there can become additional dialogue with the committee as we make final selections, but yet it is moving forward. A lot of good discussion. I thank all residents serve on committees, and I didn't think we'd have a tree committee at one time, but I understand the reasons why, and I thank them for their input. So I just wanted to talk about that because that was an item that was on the consent agenda. On September 24th, Sunday, I believe it's 11 o'clock, the bed race to aid children is going to be held. I don't think it'll be in Loringer Square because we're under construction, but I believe they're going to be finding another street that's near Loringer Square that'll be able to accommodate them for their efforts and what they do for our community in getting beds to needy families and children. There is an item that came across, it was sent. It's the Center for the French Colonial Studies. They're having their national conference here, their annual conference in Monroe, Michigan, and it's on October 6th to 8th this year. And it's interesting if you have an opportunity to want to look at that, especially if you're of French ancestry and goes back to history. They move it around the country and then also into Canada. There are some things that are available to attend. They have different levels. You should go to their website. I'll give you the information of how to contact them if you wish to do so. They're going to be holding a conference at the Holiday Inn in Monroe, again, October 6th through the 8th. They have a membership thing, but they also have opportunities for non-members if they want to participate. They have a student membership that's free, but there's also, if you want to attend the banquet or not, there's a variety of prices. I won't go through all that. But the website is FrenchColonialStudies.org. All one word, FrenchColonialStudies.org. And the phone number is 734-639-1701, 639-1701. And there's really some neat agenda items that are going to be having on all days besides speakers, both from the archaeological items that are going on, the archaeological dig that's going on at near the battlefield. There's also a presentation from the Potawatomi tribe. There's a presentation about the French settlers, and there's a variety of items. So if that's on your liking and want to attend, you can, I'm sure the website will get you there. Also this month is National Hispanic Heritage Month. You know, we always want to recognize all aspects of our community, but this takes place from September 15th through October 15th. This is an opportunity to understand diverse cultures and extensive histories of our American Hispanic community. So I know that they have festivals. They've had a festival in St. Mary's Park as well, but we have Hispanic churches in town as well. So if there's opportunities to reach out, I just I got this because I received it from a flyer from somebody that's here tonight. So I thank them for being recognition of that, and that's Linda Nicholson, who's here with us tonight, and sending out her flyer about the National Hispanic Heritage Month. My last comment, I think, is activities that are going on. I think a couple were already mentioned. The port is having Heritage Days at the Port of Monroe, which will be on Saturday, September 30th, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and also the following day on October 1st. And looking at this, the others have been mentioned, I believe, already, and I think I'll stop there. Clerk Treasurer Lavoy.
I have no comments this evening, Your
Thank
Honor.
you. Mr. Robinson, comments this evening?
Yes, sir. The only thing I need to comment on is something that probably nobody's getting ready to, and that's about getting their rakes out for the leaves that are going to be falling soon. But I just, from our Department of Public Services, the leaf bags will be available down at the Department of Public Services at 222 Jones Avenue every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for the entire month of October from 2:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. And they'll also be available the first 2 Saturdays of October, which is the 7th and the 14th, from 8 a.m. to noon. And that'll also be on our website if anybody didn't get the times and dates right. So you can get, there is a 50 bag limit per property or parcel owner. That's
Thank you for that. I actually had somebody over the weekend ask me, when are the leaf bags coming? So it'll be soon. Any further?
No, sir.
Okay.
All set.
So next is citizens' comments, and as we have here in the rules of the chamber, of course, if you wish to make comments, please come to the podium, state your name, your jurisdiction of residence. One's already coming up. That's come on up, and be mindful again of the time frame is. He's going to be first. 3 minutes, please. Oh, you're fine. We got a few that want to speak. That's great. So your name and jurisdiction of residence in 3 minutes. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Tarlucky, I live on 916 Calgary Drive, and I don't know who is in charge of that area. It has to do with the sump pumps that are being proposed. Please keep your foot on the gas with that. It was devastating to have what happened. My wife had open heart surgery that Thursday morning, and that morning we had 2 feet of water, through the whole thing. So we got through it, and so now if we can get a chance to move forward with your abilities, I would just please encourage you to not let off the pressure. Whatever you guys do behind the scenes, my understanding is that the city will facilitate the installation of these for our area. So I thank you in advance if that is indeed the case. There was a little confusion about the website, but that I think is resolved now. And some of the forms that are required, I think they're going to be forwarded to our section. Okay.
Understand. Thank you for your comment. I know that the project there is our largest project of the year, and a lot of our ARPA funds were put to that to make sure it was recognized over many, many years, the needs there. But the pump station that's underground is being put in. of course, in all the infrastructure and then roads. And I know that through our Department of Public Services is managing that.
Yep.
Mr. Lewis isn't here with us right now, but if you have other comments that you'd like to share before you go, Mr. Robinson, the city manager, will be glad to take that if you want to leave a number for the
Okay.
future.
No, we've had enough correspondence.
Okay.
No, plenty of that.
All
But I
right.
gotta say, it was just a rough week, and so now we get a chance to move forward. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Mary Ann Sear. I live at 37 Lindswood, and I come to you this evening as a resident of Monroe, but also as the board president for Lindswood Estates and the Condo Association. So first and foremost, we want to commend the city on the manner in which the flood was handled. All hours of the night, we could see trucks moving, and really, it wasn't just a city issue, but a county issue, and so thank you for addressing it in the manner in which you did. But if we could put this flood on the shelf, anytime we get heavy rainfall, I just want to bring to your attention that our condo association gets flooded. So over the last 15 years, at least 5 of the 44 residents that live in our association get flooded in some manner. And I think the issue is that there are some serious drainage issues between where the hospital is on Macomb and maybe right up past through Monroe Public Schools central office. And so we just ask, we know that this flood has given you impetus to do some investigation with some drainage, and we just hope that you would focus on this particular area, because not just with this flood, but anytime there's heavy rainfall, our residents are seriously affected with thousands and thousands of dollars of damage. So I just ask that you make that a focus. Thank you.
Mr. Robinson, I saw I was taking some notes. I think that's worth follow-up. You're correct because of this significant storm that came through, and I think that even southeast Michigan, but everywhere was devastated. But I think it does identify when the large storms come, it's not just the only time. It's the other storms that come in those pockets that have a greater impact. I know Councilman Vining, we've had that conversation when we took care of the one station that was on a particular street. It just took time to work through to figure out what would resolve that. So I will make sure, and we'll have a conversation with Mr. Robinson and staff to see if there's maybe an opportunity to connect with you, and if there's those specific locations to see what it might be. Of course, leading from the city into the township, because as you said, up to Monroe Public Schools, the lines cross over. Doesn't matter, because we need to provide service collectively, if not individually. So thank you.
So on behalf of the association, thank you so much.
Thank you much. Other comments from those present or seen? Yes, sir. Yeah, name, please, and jurisdiction of residence.
Timothy Foote. I live at 138 East 7th Street, and it's probably a popular street. Anyway, I came representing my neighbors and residents there. Of course, 208 East 7th Street, up the drug house. Anyways, a few doors down. Anyway, we're all looking. It's boarded up, and that's cool because there's no activity.
Right.
And but we see activity, and everybody's got a rumor. Of course, what's going on? What's going on? I didn't know if possible I could get some kind of an update. I know it's boarded up for 6 months, maybe December, and then that's where the rumors start.
Yeah. What comes next?
So I don't know if I know some people said they were going to watch public access or YouTube and catch it later.
Okay.
And see if you guys said anything. But anyway,
Good question, and actually great follow-up. I know Mr. Buds, our city attorney, and our public safety director, Chad Tolstead, is here. I don't know if there's an update they provide today or now. I'm trying to remember exactly the date when it started, and we're keeping track of when it comes when it comes to
Middle of
conclusion
June. Yeah, I
and
guess
what
it was.
happens next. So if
Right.
they don't have an answer for us right now, I'm sure if we just make sure they have your contact number, one of the two can
Sure.
get up back with you about the status.
That'd be great. Sure.
Appreciate it. Okay, if you want to just check with them right now, they'll make a contact or get a phone number.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Other comments from those present here this evening? Yes, sir.
Hello, Andrew Duhamel, 2411 North Custer Road. I wanted to thank you all for approving the fall tree planting as part of the consent agenda today. As a member of the Tree Advisory Commission, I did want to come and provide some comments. You mentioned, Mr. Mayor, the communications that were had between some of the members and staff. And just wanted to express, our understanding we're still in our infancy, but, hoping to kind of set forth some of the principles we're hoping to instill in any sort of urban forestry plan we develop. Some of us expressed some disappointment at some of the species in the planting. Understanding, with the understanding that there are plenty of obstacles and considerations that we might not be at the forefront of our minds because we're not the ones who deal with it every day. But nonetheless, I want to just lay out some things we're looking for. Particularly for me, there's myriad things we could talk about, but just tonight I wanted to particularly focus on the benefits of native trees and native plant, not just with trees, but shrubs and any other landscape plantings. It could affect, anything beyond just trees. But to kind of help me along with that, I brought some Douglas Tallamy with me. He's a respected conservation writer, professor, written many books, and just wanted to highlight very briefly, I promise, just a couple things he points out about the benefits of native species and the problems with invasives. Particularly, and I'm quoting here, we all remember the food web, learning about the food web in middle school and high school science or so on. All those relationships starting with energy from the sun and then going to plants and then the animals that eat those plants and then the animals that eat those animals that eat those plants and so on, which is very crucial to nature as we know it and our very existence. He goes on, he mentions how when it comes to the food web, specialized relationships among plants and animals are the rule rather than the exception in nature, and they're far more common than generalized relationships, which is to say the most important and abundant specialized relationships are between insects that eat plants and the plants that they eat. He says most insect herbivores, some 90%, are diet specialists, host plant specialists that are restricted to eating one or just a few plant lineages. And to put some concrete numbers to this, later he mentions, as an example, the common reed. Phragmites australis provides a good example. The European genotype that has displaced wetland vegetation from the Atlantic coast to the shores of Lake Michigan has inhabited North America for hundreds of years, which might sound like a long time to us, but in ecological time, that's nothing. He says that in Europe, Phragmite supports 170 insects species. And after hundreds of years of residence in North America, only 5 insect species use Phragmites as a nutritional resource. Just one other example he mentions, in California, only 1 species has adapted to eucalyptus after 110 years. And there are plenty more examples replete within this book. He mentions how native plants don't often come to the negotiating table against invasive plants from a position of power, because the invasive plants often come without the predators and other animals and insects and plants that keep them in check wherever they come from. So I just want to, I know I'm probably over 3 minutes here, but I just wanted to bring that and kind of bring that to the forefront as something I hope we can consider, the importance of natives. And again, not just with trees, but with all plantings. I know I mentioned to Mark Cochran last week, we had a planning commission meeting talking about Mason Run, and I took some issue with some of the plants that were listed under the landscaping part of that new pattern book. It's just incredibly important to, it'd be great to have a very good looking city with a bunch of beautiful ornamental trees, but if there's no caterpillars, no birds, and no birds, no bird song, and we can go on and on from there. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew. So now you see why we have boards and commissions and why we need residents of knowledge to serve on all of our boards and commissions, and how we bring a diverse perspective of the importance of no matter what board or commission it is. Thank you, Andrew. Next comment, please.
Good evening, Mayor Clark and City Council. I am here as a citizen of Monroe and a resident of 72 Lindswood Street. I'm also the vice president of the board at the Lindswood Association, Condo Association. And I'm just here to reiterate some of the difficulties and challenges many of the residents in our neighborhood have been experiencing as a result of the Macomb Street drain. That seems to be the problem, not that I know, but that appears to be the problem. Again, I'd like to reiterate one more time, it's not just when we have an emergency in terms of flooding, but just on a regular day of a good set of rain. It's pretty shocking the amount of rain that actually comes right into our neighborhood right down my garage and through my back door into my basement. I've kind of joked in the past that I could probably ride a kayak right from the Macron Street drain right into my basement and my laundry room. And every time I see it, it's horrifying and very stressful and very costly, obviously. And there doesn't appear to be anything that the residents themselves can do. We've had some brief consultations with Larry Rourke about what might be able to be done, but he doesn't really see, as far as I know, a big solution without getting some participation from the city. So I guess I'm just here to implore you to look at that problem and see if there is something that can be done so that this problem can discontinue in somewhat near future.
Thank you, Linda. I know Mr. Robbins, I can see he wrote that. I think about how we got to an earlier conversation on what's called St. Mary's Gardens in Calgary and how we got there with this most significant project this year. And it developed over time, but it also got worse as things went. I don't have the background on this as far as other than knowing there's been some difficulties. Now it's about, I think it's opportunity for staff to maybe have a conversation and come out and just step in to see. You know, we whether it's water or wastewater, you know, we can do cameras with there's a variety of things that can be done to find out if there's something that's just wasn't engineered correctly decades ago. The very item that occurred in St. Mary's Gardens at Calgary and in that neighborhood, McCormick and all those. It just wasn't until it got figured out, and then of course the challenge to get it corrected. So I think there's an opportunity that I know I have your number because it's right on here.
Right.
Thank you for the notice, by the way.
You're welcome.
And so we'll make sure that we have a contact to start a conversation. Would be wonderful. I'm looking at Mr. Robinson. I see he's got some notes here. So, you know, we have various locations in our community that are more impacted than others, and it's not just the biggest storms, as you said, it's the regular storms, and how do we address those and find out what's really going on. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, we would greatly appreciate that. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thanks for being here. Other comments from those present here this evening? Yes, sir.
Elliot James, 633 Stone Street. I wasn't going to comment today, but you brought up the trees. And I wanted to find out, if any of those trees going to be fruit trees? And if they are we going to establish the Orchard East again?
So the list is here. I'll be glad to give you my copy if you want to look to see where they're all at least proposed at this time to be planted and the types of trees. We have areas that are called restricted, unrestricted, and semi-restricted. That means how much space there is to plant the tree, whether some of the terraces are small. But your comments, because you've chatted with us about this before. You know, our Orchard Committee is well known for, you know, not just decades but century about fruit trees and that. I don't believe that what we're planting here are fruit trees because they're in, I'll say, the residential neighborhood. But what we've chatted about is how do we not recreate, how do we bring back what would be similar to what the Orchard East would have been? Now, we're not going to take the whole neighborhood and make them all fruit trees and not have anything else, but there's ways to make that occur. I think when we talk about the corridor plan that we've had about from the national park through the north side of the river to the south side of the river, and where's that space that we might be looking to plant kind of the nursery of the gardens and the fruit trees that we've that is what the Orchard East is known for.
Right.
So that'll be I'm always look at the manager over here. When that is, I don't really have a timeline. I know that we've talked about the city going back to days past of having an inventory of trees, starting an orchard that we, rather than going out and purchase, we start planting. Actually, I recall when the first moved here, I used to see them out by Custer Airport. Obviously, it wasn't in any conflict, but it was near the roadway away from the airport itself, the runway. But there was trees, and I'd see them. They would pick them up and take them and move them elsewhere. I think that's an investment maybe that the council will have to have some discussion on, and maybe that is something that could be incorporated. You know, we can't get all of our trees that way, I don't believe, but we can maybe provide some context to that. So, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
I won't remind you all about October the 7th, the NAACP
Yes,
gala.
thank you. And before you leave, Mr. James, I'm gonna leave this right here for you so you can look at all those trees. And it is available also on the website with the item here. Next comment, please.
Good evening, Mayor, excuse me, and City Council. My name is Mary Beth Wright, and I live at 70 Lindswood. I'm part of Lindswood Estates, a owner of one of the condos there. And I'm basically just wanted to come up and express my concern as well. I'm going to make it brief because Mary Ann and Linda did such a good job of expressing the concern. I moved into the condo that I'm in March of 21, and we had a flood in August of 21. And then we had a flood in August of 23, of course, and this one was far worse. And we even found mold from the first one that hadn't been taken care of properly. And we didn't know that, of course. But flooring is being replaced and drywall is being replaced. So this was just much worse and kind of devastating. And I know we're not the only, community that's having that problem. But I just wanted to express concern and also thank you for your interest and your concern. And I look forward to a resolution, hopefully.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Other comments from those present here this evening? Yes, please.
I think I'm the last from Lindswood, so on behalf, thank you, Mayor Clark and City Council. They always say, bring your voices, let us hear from your people in the city, and that's what we're doing. So I do sit as the manager at Lindswood Estates, and we are doing our part at the association's cost to make certain that those drains are cleaned on a regular basis so that we can take as much of that water that's coming in. But it clearly has been an issue. I've been there for almost 7 years, and I was surprised to hear prior to this that there's been an acknowledgement of that issue, but they have not brought their voice, and I just am learning from knowing all of you and our continued involvement to make sure that we're talking about it. So I'm sure that we will collaboratively work on an effort, but something has to change. So Shelley Taylor at 55 Lindswood Street. Thank you.
Thanks, Shelley. I knew you'd get to that part. Appreciate it. Once your voice heard, we're going to know whose voice it is, right? That's right. Other comments from those present here this evening? Further comments? Yes, sir.
My name's Wayne Bordeaux, live at 602 East First Street. I have 3 items I'd like to bring before the council and mayor. 2 of them concern zoning ordinance that I think are being violated. And the third one is a tree that's on private property, but I believe it's a danger to myself and 2 other households. The zoning problem is taking, I think it's a zoning problem at the corner of East 2nd and Navarre Street, both sides of the street on the south side of 2nd. Now on the west corner of this intersection, there's an auto repair business taking place. And as I understand, there's that home is a duplex. It's not its own business. And across the street at 604 East 2nd, I think it's possible they're housing more people than they should. And there's an air conditioner hanging out of the attic window. I don't believe that's legal if there's somebody living up there. That takes care of those 2 issues. The third one is a tree that's on private property. I live at 602 East First, 606 East First, and 104 Navarre Street. That's all one parcel of land at one time, roughly 80 by 150. And the address at 104 Navarre has a silver maple in the backyard that's, I'd say, at least 50 feet high. And in the last 2 years, but roughly about 2 years ago, there was part of it come down, took my AT&T service, jerked it right out of the house at the first tie-in. And, well, we got that repaired. I didn't lose my service, but it ripped it out of free from the house, and you couldn't walk underneath the line without ducking. And then here, this last storm we had, I believe it was in August, more of that tree come down, and it took the power line for 606 East First, hit that and tore it loose from its first anchor. And at its low point, it was hanging 7 feet off the pavement. And apparently the people that were owned that place weren't living there at the time. I mean, on vacation or something. I tried twice to get a hold of them, and no luck. And I don't know if you're aware that on Navarre Street between First and Humphrey, there was a whole tree came down. It blocked the whole street. Well, the following Monday, following that storm, Detroit Edison was in there cleaning that up and restoring power to the house that's kitty corner from me at East on East First Street. And I had them come over and look at that down line at 6 East First, and they decided they didn't have a call or a work order for it, but apparently they got a hold of the proper people, and they decided they better get that fixed. And where it tore that line loose from the house, it tore out some of the siding and busted that up. Anyway, what I'm here for is I'd like to see some of that tree trimmed out of there. There ought to be at least 15 or 20 feet taken out of the canopy of that tree before somebody's house or garage. Like me, I'm afraid of my garage and car.
Sure.
And depending on where it breaks and how it falls, it could even possibly hit the house. Now, that'd be a disaster.
Well, Wayne, I know that I wrote down the addresses and the information, and as I saw the manager doing, I think that it'll be followed over to the DPS and other appropriate departments to do a drive-by. If it's something that's being done that's even a blight nature, I see Mr. Cochran was here writing stuff down. If there's things that the residents that couldn't be, is it a rental property? Is it not? Is it inspected? All those things on our list will be looked into.
Okay. Well, the people that own it live out towards Newport, and they have a granddaughter and her significant other living in this property at 10405 Navarre. I've talked to both the owner of the property and the tenants. And the owner, I talked to the missus, she talked to her husband. Okay, I haven't seen any results yet.
Rental properties, and there's not, that's good, because people have to live in different places. Some can own, some can rent. That's not the issue. It's making sure that they meet the inspection criteria and that they're managed appropriately. So we'll look into that, okay?
Okay, that'd be appreciated.
All right, thank
Anything you
sir.
can do.
All right, appreciate it.
Time is worth
a lot of time.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, I'm sure that we'll make sure we have your number as well if we need to get back with you. Just, well, either Mark or Mr. Robinson can take your number just if you want to get a phone call back. Right there?
When do you want me to contact
You can do it to him right now.
As soon as this is over? Yeah.
Mark's going to get it. He's walking to the back there. Other comments from those present here this evening? Further comments? Seeing none, a motion, please.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Councilwoman Moore, supported by Councilwoman Stelgrave to adjourn. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Vining? Yes. Germaini? Yes. Lamore? Yes. Felder? Yes. Whitman? Yes. Stelgrave? Yes.
Well, thank you all for being here this evening. It's great conversations.